Rhododendron is a genus of 1,024 species of woody plants in the heath family, either evergreen or deciduous, and found mainly in Asia, although it is also widespread throughout the southern highlands of the Appalachian Mountains of North America. It is the national flower of Nepal. Most species have showy flowers which bloom from late winter through to early summer. Azaleas make up two subgenera of rhododendron. They are distinguished from true rhododendrons by having only 5 anthers per flower. Species description: Rhododendron is a genus characterized by shrubs and small to large trees, the smallest species growing to 10 to 100 centimeters tall, and the largest, Protestum var. giganteum, reported to 30 meters tall. The leaves are spirally arranged. Leaf size can range from 1 to 2 centimeters to over 50 centimeters, exceptionally 100 centimeters in R. cinegranda. They may be either evergreen or deciduous. In some species, the undersides of the leaves are covered with scales or hairs. Some of the best-known species are noted for their many clusters of large flowers. There are alpine species with small flowers and small leaves, and tropical species such as sectioned varroa that often grow as epiphytes. Species in this genus may be part of the heath complex in oak heath forests in eastern North America. They have frequently been divided based on the presence or absence of scales on the abaxial leaf surface. These scales, unique to subgenus Rhododendron, are modified hairs consisting of a polygonal scale attached by a stalk. Rhododendron are characterized by having inflorescences with scarious perilae, a chromosome number of X equals 13, fruit that has a septicidal capsule, an ovary that is superior, stamens that have no appendages, and agglutinate pollen. Taxonomy: the rhododendron genus is the largest of the genera in the Ericaceae family, with 1,024 species, though estimates vary from 850–1000 depending on the authority used, and is morphologically diverse. Consequently, the taxonomy has been historically complex. Early history: although rhododendrons had been known since the description of Rhododendron hirsutum by Charles de la Recluse in the 16th century, and were known to classical writers, and referred to as Chamaerodendron, the genus was first formally described by Linnaeus in his Species Plantarum in 1753. He listed 5 species under rhododendron: Doricum, hirsutum, Comichistis rchb, and R. maximum. At that time he considered the then-known 6th species of azalea that he had described earlier in 1735 in his Systema Naturae as a separate genus. Linnaeus' 6 species of azalea were Azalea indica, pontica, lutea, viscosa, laponica and A. procumbens, which he distinguished from rhododendron by having 5 stamens, as opposed to 10. As new species of what are now considered rhododendron were discovered, if they seemed to differ significantly from the type species, they were assigned to separate genera. For instance, Rhodora for Rhododendron canadense, Varroa and Hymenanthus for Rhododendron metternich, now R. degronianum. Meanwhile, other botanists such as Salisbury and Tate began to question the distinction between azalea and rhododendron, and finally in 1836, azalea was incorporated into rhododendron and the genus divided into 8 sections. Of these, Sutsutsi, Pentanera, Pogonanthum, Ponticum and Rhodora are still used, the other sections being Lepiferum, Aurum, and Comichistis. This structure largely survived till recently, following which the development of molecular phylogeny led to major re-examinations of traditional morphological classifications. Although other authors such as Kandel, who described 6 sections, used slightly different numeration. As more species became available in the 19th century, a better understanding of the characteristics necessary for the major divisions. Chief amongst these were Maximovitch's Rhododendroeurasia orientala and Plancken. Maximovitch used flower bud position in its relationship with leaf buds to create 8 sections. Bentham and Hooker used a similar scheme, but called the divisions series. It was not until 1893 that Koehner appreciated the significance of scaling and hence the separation of lepidote and alepidote species. The large number of species that were available by the early 20th century prompted a new approach when Balfour introduced the concept of grouping species into series. In the species of rhododendron, referred to as the Balfourian system, that system continued up to modern times in Davidian's 4-volume The Rhododendron Species. Modern era. The next major attempt at classification was by Slumer, who from 1934 began incorporating the Balfourian series into the older, hierarchical structure of subgenera and sections. According to the International Code of Botanical Nomenclature, culminating in his Einsystem der Gattung Rhododendron L, and subsequent refinements. Most of the Balfourian series are represented by Slumer as subsections, though some appear as sections or even subgenera. Slumer based his system on the relationship of the flower buds to the leaf buds, habitat, flower structure, and whether the leaves were lepidote or non-lepidote. While Slumer's work was widely accepted, many in the United States and the United Kingdom continued to use the simpler Balfourian system of the Edinburgh Group. Slumer's system underwent many revisions by others, predominantly the Edinburgh Group in their continuing Royal Botanic Garden Edinburgh Notes, Cullen in Edinburgh. Placing more emphasis on the lepidote characteristics of the leaves united all of the lepidote species into subgenus Rhododendron, including 4 of Slumer's subgenera. Philipson and Philipson raised 2 sections of subgenus Alistrum to subgenera, while reducing genus Therodione to a subgenus of Rhododendron. In 1987 Spethman, adding phytochemical features, proposed a system with 15 subgenera grouped into 3, chorus a subgenera. A number of closely related genera had been included together with rhododendron in a former tribe, Rhodorea. These have been progressively incorporated into rhododendron. Chamberlain and Ray moved the monotypic section Susciopsis together with the monotypic genus Susciophyllum into section Susucia, while in the same year Cronin-Judd reduced genus Ledum to a subsection of section Rhododendron. Then Judd and Cron moved 2 species from section Brachybarchii subgenus Susucia and 2 from section Rhodora subgenus Pentanera into section Cyadarodione subgenus Pentanera. Finally, Chamberlain brought the various systems together in 1996, with 1,025 species divided into 8 subgenera. For a comparison of the Slumer and Chamberlain schemata, see Table 1 of Gurch. Phylogenetic analyses. The era of molecular analysis rather than descriptive features can be dated to the work of Karashiga and Cron, who used MATK sequencing, while Lian-Ming used its sequences to determine a cladistic analysis. They confirmed that the genus Rhododendron was monophyletic, with subgenus Therodione in the basal position, consistent with the MATK studies. Following publication of the studies of Gurch et al. With RPB2, there began an ongoing realignment of species and groups within the genus, based on evolutionary relationships. Their work was more supportive of Slumer's original system than the later modifications introduced by Chamberlain et al. The major finding of Gurch and colleagues was that all species examined formed 3 major clades which they labeled A, B and C, with the subgenera Rhododendron and Hymenanthus nested within clades A and B as monophyletic groups respectively. By contrast, subgenera Azaleastrum and Pentanera were polyphyletic, while R. kamchaticum appeared as a sister to all other rhododendrons. The small polyphyletic subgenera Pentanera and Azaleastrum were divided between 2 clades. The 4 sections of Pentanethra between clades B and C, with 2 each, while Azaleastrum had 1 section in each of A and C. Thus, subgenera Azaleastrum and Pentanethra needed to be disassembled, and Rhododendron, Hymenanthus and Susucia correspondingly expanded. In addition to the 2 separate genera included under Rhododendron by Chamberlain, Gurch et al. Added Menziesii. Despite her degree of paraphyly, The subgenus Rhododendron was otherwise untouched with regard to its 3 sections, but 4 other subgenera were eliminated and 1 new subgenus created, leaving a total of 5 subgenera in all, from 8 in Chamberlain's scheme. The discontinued subgenera are Pentanethera, Sususha, Candidastrum and Mumiazalia, while a new subgenus was created by elevating subgenus Azaleastrum section Choniastrum to subgenus rank. Subgenus Pentanethera with its 4 sections was dismembered by eliminating 2 sections and redistributing the other 2 between the existing subgenera in clades B and C, although the name was retained in section Pentanethera, which was moved to subgenus Hymenanthus. Of the remaining 3 sections, monotypic Visigula was discontinued by moving Rhododendron nipponicum to Sususha, while Rhodora was itself polyphyletic and was broken up by moving Rhododendron canadense to section Pentanethera and Rhododendron vasi to section Cyadarodione, which then became a new section of subgenus Azaleastrum. Subgenus Sususha was reduced to section status, retaining the name of, and included in subgenus Azaleastrum. Of the 3 minor subgenera, all in C, 2 were discontinued. The single species of monotypic subgenus Candidastrum was moved to subgenus Azaleastrum, section Cyadarodione. Similarly, the single species in monotypic subgenus Mumiazalia was placed in the new section Sususha, subgenus Azaleastrum. Genus Menziesa was also added to section Cyadarodione. The remaining small subgenus Therarodione with its 2 species was left intact. Thus 2 subgenera, Hymenanthus and Azaleastrum, were expanded at the expense of 4 subgenera that were eliminated, although Azaleastrum lost 1 section as a new subgenus, since it was a distinct subclade in A. In all, Hymenanthus increased from 1 to 2 sections, while Azaleastrum, by losing 1 section and gaining 2, increased from 2 to 3 sections. Subsequent research has supported the revision by Gurch, although has largely concentrated on further defining the phylogeny within the subdivisions. In 2011, the 2 species of Diplarch were also added to Rhododendron, Incertis edis. Similar findings were reported independently the following year by Brown et al. Subdivision. This genus has been progressively subdivided into a hierarchy of subgenus, section, subsection, and species. Subgenera terminology from the Sluma system is frequently found in older literature, with 5 subgenera and is as follows: subgenus Lepidorodium coena, lepidotes, 3 sections. Subgenus Eurhododendron maxim, Elliptidotes. Subgenus Pseudanthodendron sluma, deciduous azaleas, 3 sections. Subgenus Anthodendron redder and Wilson, evergreen azaleas, 3 sections. Subgenus Azaleastrum plank, 4 sections. In the later traditional classification, attributed to Chamberlain, and as used by horticulturalists and the American Rhododendron Society, rhododendron has 8 subgenera based on morphology, namely the presence of scales, deciduousness of leaves, and the floral and vegetative branching patterns. After Sluma, these consist of 4 large and 4 small subgenera. The first 2 subgenera represent the species commonly considered as rhododendrons. The next 2 smaller subgenera represent the azaleas. The remaining 4 subgenera contain very few species. The largest of these is subgenus Rhododendron, containing nearly half of all known species and all of the lepidote species. Subgenus Rhododendron L. Small leaf or lepidotes. 3 sections, 462 species, type species. Rhododendron ferrugineum. Subgenus Hymenanthus K. Koch. Large leaf or lepidotes. 1 section, 224 species, type Rhododendron digronianum, subgenus Pentanthera polyarcova, deciduous azaleas, 4 sections, 23 species, type Rhododendron luteum, subgenus Sususha polyarcova, evergreen azaleas, 2 sections, 80 species, type Rhododendron indicum, subgenus Azalea strumplank. 2 sections, 16 species, type Rhododendron ovatum, subgenus Candidastrum franche. 1 species, Rhododendron albiflorum, subgenus Mumiazalea wr. Philipson and mn. Philipson. 1 species, Rhododendron semibarbatum, subgenus Rhododendron A. Gray. 2 species. For a comparison of the Slumer and Chamberlain systems, see Goetsch al. Table 1. This division was based on a number of what were thought to be key morphological characteristics. These included the position of the inflorescence buds, whether lepidote or alepidote, deciduousness of leaves, and whether new foliage was derived from axils from previous year's shoots or the lowest scaly leaves. Following the cladistic analysis of Goetsch al., this scheme was simplified, based on the discovery of 3 major clades as follows. Clade A subgenus Rhododendron L. Small leaf or lepidotes. 3 sections, about 400 species, type species. Rhododendron ferrugineum, subgenus Choniastrum franche. 11 species. Clade B subgenus Hymenanthus K. Koch. Large leaf or lepidotes, including deciduous azaleas. 2 sections, about 140 to 225 species, type Rhododendron digronianum. Clade C subgenus Azalea strumplank, evergreen azaleas. 3 sections, about 120 species, type Rhododendron ovatum. Sister taxon subgenus Rhododendron A. Gray. 2 species. Sections and subsections. The larger subgenera are further subdivided into sections and subsections. Some subgenera contain only a single section, and some sections only a single subsection. Shown here is the traditional classification, with species number after Chamberlain, but this scheme is undergoing constant revision. Revisions by Goetsch al. and by Craven al. shown in older ranks such as series are no longer used but may be found in the literature, but the American Rhododendron Society still uses a similar device, called alliances. Subgenus Rhododendron L. Argent, raised from Varroa Pogonathum H. and Hems L. Argent, raised from Varroa Rhododendron L. Varroa Copel F. Subgenus Hymenanthus K. Koch ponticum G. Don Poyarkova. New section, moved from subgenus Pentanthera. Subgenus Pentanthera Poyarkova. Pentanthera Poyarkova Rhodora G. Don Cyadarodon Rudder and Wilson Visigula Matsum. And Nakai. Subgenus Sususha Poyarkova. Brachycalyx Sweet Sususha Poyarkova. Subgenus Azalea strumplank. Azalea strumplank. Polyarkova. Subgenus Candidastrum franche. Subgenus Mumiazalea wr. Philipson and mn. Philipson. Subgenus Rhododendron A. Gray. Distribution and habitat. Species of the genus Rhododendron are widely distributed between latitudes 80 degrees north and 20 degrees south and are considered alpine native plants from North America to Europe, Russia, and Asia, and from Greenland to Queensland, Australia and the Solomon Islands. The centers of diversification are in the Himalayas and Malaysia, with the greatest species diversity in the Sino-Himalayan region, southwest China and northern Burma, from Uttarakhand, Nepal and Sikkim to northwestern Yunnan and western Sichuan and southeastern Tibet, and with other significant areas of diversity in the mountains of Korea, Japan and Taiwan. More than 90% of Rhododendron sensu Chamberlain belong to the Asian subgenera Rhododendron, Hymenanthus and section Sususha. Of the first 2 of these, the species are predominantly found in the area of the Himalayas and southwest China. The 300 tropical species within the Varroa section of subgenus Rhododendron occupy the Malay archipelago from their presumed Southeast Asian origin to northern Australia, with 55 known species in Borneo and 164 in New Guinea. The species in New Guinea are native to subalpine moist grasslands at around 3,000 meters above sea level in the Central Highlands. Subgenera Rhododendron and Hymenanthus, together with section Pentanethera of subgenus Pentanethera, are also represented to a lesser degree in the mountainous areas of North America and western Eurasia. Subgenus Susutia is found in the maritime regions of East Asia, but not in North America or Eurasia.